Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Genshin Impact character review series. We take a look at each character in the game and review them. And today's subject is our first 5-star and my first 5-star, Qiqi. And there's a lot to be said about Qiqi. She's maybe the top character that people love to hate because, well, she unfortunately does ruin 50-50 pities, and yeah, she does get a lot of hate for that. But in my opinion, Qiqi is a very good character actually. And let's get on with her kit and let's explain the situation so that, we get to see what's wrong, what's not. So then, let's get into Qiqi's kit and justify everything. So, starting off with Qiqi's auto attacks. There's not much to note about Qiqi's auto attacks. She's a sword user. The only thing to say is that she attacks really quickly. As far as I'm aware, she's the quickest auto attacker in the whole game, because she, compared to other sword users, she doesn't have any sort of teleporting attack like Qiqi or Xiao, so her auto attack cycles just aren't interrupted by such an animation or attack, and she just cycles through attacks so quickly. Like, Qiqi has so fast attacks, it's crazy. And yeah, I mean, that's really the only comment on her auto attacks. They're pretty much fine. Again, just very, very quick. Charge attack is the same that every other sword user has. But yeah, auto attacks, incredibly quick, and that's it. So moving on to her skill. So when Qiqi uses her skill, she summons this little ghost orb around the active character. So this ghost orb, while this orb is active, when you hit an enemy using Qiqi's normal attacks or charge attack, you'll be healing the whole party for a certain amount. This skill is very good. Well, what it also does is that it spins around a few times, and if it hits an enemy, it will apply cryo to them and deal a very tiny amount of damage. And also, periodically, around 3 times every use of the skill, it will deal a sort of like burst of healing to the active character that is out on the field. So this ability is very good. It does its job. It does its job at healing. It's not the best cryo applicator. It's pretty mediocre at it. But in combination, in like team comps that want to cause something like superconduct or freeze comps, Qiqi's cryo application through this skill works perfectly, because with superconduct you don't need to constantly be proccing it. You don't need to constantly have superconduct on an enemy because it has a duration. And Qiqi's skill, how it periodically spins around, it's basically the perfect like downtime between cryo and electro applications to cause superconduct and have the effect be constantly on a character. And for like freeze comps, well, again, you don't need to constantly apply hydro and cryo at the same time. So, because freezing an enemy has a duration unless you cause a shatter. So again, Qiqi's cryo application, this periodic application of the skill is just perfectly fine for a perma-freeze comp. Again, not the best cryo application, and it doesn't really fit with like melt comps, but for other uses, which is again superconduct and superconduct, perma-freezing, swirl even, it's perfectly fine. So yeah, it does. So the main complaint about this ability is that it has a long cooldown. It does have a 30 seconds long cooldown, but this skill also has a very long uptime. So the actual cooldown of the skill isn't 30 seconds, because this skill also cannot be interrupted. Someone like Xingqiu has a long cooldown skill, but the swords can break before the duration ends, then the cooldown is, can be still considered long. But with Qiqi, nothing can interrupt the duration of the skill, and its duration is 15 seconds. The cooldown is 30, so the actual cooldown is 15 seconds, not 30. And the amount of healing that Qiqi can get from this ability, like a 15 seconds downtime isn't bad. And once we get to Qiqi's other kit, like more of her kit, you'll see how it doesn't really matter that it has a 15 seconds cooldown. And still, 15 seconds isn't that bad. It's not bad. It's not a bad cooldown. There are skills out there that have longer cooldown than 50 seconds or close to 15 seconds and do much less than what Qiqi's skill does. So, again, it's a perfectly fine skill for what it needs to do, which is heal. Its main thing, Qiqi's main thing is healing, and this ability allows her to do that very well. Then she also has the first Ascension talent, which what it does is that whenever a character triggers a reaction and they have the ability active, the skill is active, they will get some healing bonus. So hey, that is nice. Then we move on to her burst. So Qiqi's burst is this like cryo explosion, which deals a, I would say, sort of low or okay amount of cryo damage in an area, pretty big area. And what it does, the main thing it does is that it applies a cursed talisman on enemies. And whenever a character hits an enemy affected by a talisman, they get a very fat heal. Like, it heals so much when you hit enemies with the talismans on them. The duration of the talisman is around 15 seconds from the ultimate, and it's just so much. Like, the healing output of, like, Qiqi's healing output is just so much that this burst is really overpowered, I must say. And then we get to Qiqi's second Ascension talent, which is tied to this ability. So what does Qiqi's second Ascension talent do? Every 30 seconds, Qiqi's attacks have a 50% chance to proc a talisman on a single enemy, or multiple enemies if you can get that with that same attack. So if an attack deals damage to multiple targets, it will apply the talisman to those multiple targets. But the thing is that this talisman, a single talisman, heals so much, it can easily heal a whole party. So the thing is that because of this Ascension talent, you should use the burst sparingly. Yes, this ability, like this, the talent has a long cooldown, 30 seconds, but then you realize its cooldown is the same as the skill. And what you need to do to use Qiqi correctly is to balance the use of this talisman and the skill, so that nothing is on a very long downtime. Because no matter which character we're talking about, everybody has some sort of cooldown and some downtime to their heals. Whether that is Bennett, Diona, or anyone else, they have a downtime to their healing, and that is how it should be. But if you know how to balance Qiqi's auto attacks to apply the talisman, and then after it runs out, you use the skill, there isn't actually that much downtime to your healing. And my goodness, again, this talisman, a single talisman on an enemy, and this talisman does, its duration is only 6 seconds compared to the 15 seconds of a ult talisman. But still, in those 6 seconds, you can easily switch throughout your whole party and heal them all. It's so much healing. So that's why you should also be using your burst sparingly. Yes, it also does have an 80 energy cost. But again, it's not needed. You do not need to put talismans on many enemies to heal your whole party. Just one talisman is all you need. And other situations where the ult is needed, it applies cryo in a good AoE. So if you are surrounded by enemies that, the Oceanids, when the Spiral Abyss had the Oceanid floor, on floor 12, chamber 2, it was full of Oceanid creatures. Well then, when these guys surround you, using a Qiqi ultimate will instantly freeze all of them and apply talismans so that you can do your job without them interrupting you. So yeah, if you're surrounded by hydro affected enemies, using a Qiqi burst, if you are in need of healing as well, will instantly freeze everyone. So that's another use for the ult, but again, use it sparingly, because basically all enemies, unless they are ranged, will just group up to fuck you. And if you have Qiqi's skill active, well, the AoE, even if it's small, it's still a good area to just hit every enemy and apply cryo to them. And if you have someone like a Nanemo character to cause swirl, well then, they're just gonna use swirl and apply cryo to everyone. So, again, use this burst sparingly. Learn how to use this burst sparingly and learn how to balance the use of the single talisman from the Ascension talent and the skill to achieve the ultimate healing, because Qiqi you just cannot compare Qiqi's healing to anyone. It's so much. And why is it so much? Well, Qiqi scales off of attack, and her multipliers on the healing are absurdly much. And yeah, with Qiqi and, moving on to artifacts, you just need as much attack as you can get. So, your Sands of Eon, your Goblet, and your Circlet are all going to be attack percent. So it's very easy to build Qiqi. You just need as much attack percent as you can get. So no crit damage, crit rate Circlet, no healing bonus. You do not need a healing bonus Circlet on Qiqi. Not only is her heal so much, she also has a healing bonus Ascension stat, so you don't need more healing. So getting a healing bonus Circlet is a trap. It's completely useless on Qiqi. Everything is attack. No crit damage, crit rate Circlet. Attack percent. No cryo damage bonus. Only attack. And attack sense. Nothing else. Just as much attack as you can get, because it's so easy to hit 2000 plus attack on Qiqi and have her heal like 5000 every tick of her skill, or just heal like 6000 HP from one attack on a affected enemy from a talisman, like so much. And what artifact sets go with Qiqi? Well then, right now, because in a single week this build will change. So right now, what you can go with is a 2-piece Gladiator for the extra 18% attack, and then a 2-piece Maiden's Beloved for the extra healing. You can go for something like a 4-piece Gladiator, because, I mean, if you want Qiqi to deal some good damage with her attacks, because, again, you have stacked so much attack on Qiqi through the artifacts, and then, Gladiator is just gonna give you even more damage on your auto attacks. She can easily work as a sub DPS in the early game, or maybe even the late game, hey. But now, in literally 1 week, there's gonna be the new Inazuma set that gives, which its 2-piece gives another 18% attack bonus. So, as we said, don't use a healing Circlet on Qiqi. Well, the 2-piece Maiden's Beloved is sort of useless as well, because it also gives a healing bonus. And yeah, I mean, I'm 100% sure the new Qiqi build is gonna be a 2-piece Gladiator's Finale and a 2-piece of that new Inazuma set that also gives an attack percent bonus. So you're gonna have 36% more attack from the artifact set. It's gonna be crazy how much attack Qiqi is gonna be able to achieve. I mean, hell. It's gonna be hell. There is also that energy recharge set that is coming with Inazuma. It could work, just the 2-piece for some extra energy recharge alongside that 2-piece Gladiator or 2-piece of the other set. So that could also be a build if you're having troubles managing your energy, because again, you need to learn to just not use that burst. So you're not gonna be spamming the burst. So, energy recharge isn't that much needed, and we will talk about Qiqi's energy issues in a bit. But yeah, the energy recharge bonus from that set, the new Inazuma set, could work. It could work. It could be a build to help some players if they're having problems, and you need to spam the burst as much as you can. But, you just need practice. You just need to learn how the character works and you'll get it. So then, let's move on to weapons. As we said, Qiqi's main role is a healer. And because her healing skills of attack, well, we just need to search for the weapons that gives us the most attack, but there are some other weapons to use. There's the Favonian Sword, which will give you some energy recharge and will also, through its effect, it will generate some energy. So it's pretty fine. But again, if you are experienced with Qiqi, you won't need a lot of energy recharge. You just won't need it. But if you want to, be more, let's say, casual with how you use your Qiqi, then use the Favonian Sword to help you, use more ultimates if you need them. Lion's Roar isn't bad. It has okay base attack and it gives attack %, exactly what we need. Its effect is basically useless to Qiqi because it increases damage against opponents affected by Pyro and Electro, and I mean, you can use it to deal extra damage if you want, but if you're gonna be using Qiqi's attacks, you're doing it to heal your entire party with the skill, and if you're attacking with Qiqi, most likely that skill is gonna hit the enemy you're attacking, so you will lose the damage bonus. So yeah, Lion's Roar is a good choice because it gives more attack with the attack % substat, but its effect is a bit meh. The Prototype Rancor isn't the worst. You can craft it, and really good base attack. The physical damage bonus isn't useful at all on Qiqi. The only thing it can help is when you're attacking with Qiqi to again heal your whole party. So it will help there to deal some extra physical damage bonus. But its effect is really nice because you increase your attack, and if you activate the skill or the talisman when your attack is high, you will heal more. And that's how Prototype Rancor works. So hey, that's cool. The Sacrificial Sword, well then. A lot of people use the Sacrificial Sword on Qiqi. But here's the thing. Well, it doesn't have the best base attack. It gives energy recharge. So again, for a person that is not that acquainted with how Qiqi usually is played, you might need the energy recharge to use more ultimates. But people really go over the skill, over the effect of the weapon where it resets the cooldown of the skill. But as we said, Qiqi's actual skill cooldown is 15 seconds. And it's just not that much. It's not that much. And I don't think that it's worth it to use a Sacrificial Sword on Qiqi. Use a weapon that gives you attack instead of the energy recharge and the effect. Because the healing again from the skill is enough. It's enough, man. It's just enough. You don't need a consecutive second skill. If you need that second skill to heal your party to a good amount, then your Qiqi just doesn't have enough attack, or her talents aren't leveled up enough to, again, give you that immense amount of healing. Give the Sacrificial Sword to someone like Xingqiu, not Qiqi. Okay? Again, if you're more of a newbie to Qiqi, then sure. But once you really learn how Qiqi works, you'll immediately say that I don't need the Sacrificial Sword. I need as much attack as I can get. You don't need that second D. You just don't. Again, the skill's actual cooldown is 15 seconds, not 30. Because again, the skill has a 15 seconds uptime that cannot be interrupted in any way. So the skill again, actual cooldown is 15 seconds. And 50 seconds isn't that much. Because again, if you balance it with using the cooldown of the second talent, there isn't much of a downtime actually. And not only that, if you're that bad at dodging for 10 seconds, then maybe you just need to get better. I'm sorry. But again, every healer has some sort of downtime. So I don't understand why people really go out to hate Qiqi for having that 30 supposed second cooldown. And that's why you just don't need the Sacrificial Sword. The downtime is very much fine for the immense amount of healing that Qiqi can give you. But, let's move on to more weapons. Ally Flash, not for Qiqi unfortunately. Black Sword, I mean, if you really want to go for a DPS, then sure. The Flute is another weapon similar to Lion's Roar. Same base attack, same attack percent. The thing is that the Flute has a nice effect, I guess. It's more universal than Lion's Roar, because again, Lion's Roar you need Pyro and Electro affected enemies. With the Flute, just hit, and then you'll be dealing that extra damage when you reach those 5 notes. So hey, the Flute is fine. It's also nice and stylish. Festering Desire, not for Qiqi. Works on other characters, but not for Qiqi. There's also one more 4-star weapon, which is the new Inazuma weapon. So what's up with this weapon? It doesn't have the best base attack, 41, so 1 lower than the Flute and Lion's Roar, but it does give a lot of attack. It gives like 55% attack on level 90. So it will nicely fit Qiqi, I think. But the problem is the skill. Give me 1 small second to check something. No, okay. So what does this new sword do? The thing about this weapon, this new Inazuma sword weapon, is that whenever you use your elemental skill, you gain a stack. You can gain a stack every 5 seconds, and every stack lasts 30 seconds. You can have up to 3 stacks of that, and whenever you use your elemental burst, you will generate energy depending on the amount of stacks consumed. I think this weapon will become the best for Qiqi, especially for free to play, but unfortunately she just cannot use the maximum potential of this weapon. The reason being that her skill has a 30 seconds cooldown, and well, you can't cast it before that. And as mentioned, these stacks last for 30 seconds, so the maximum amount that she can use is 1. So yeah, she can only use 1 of these stacks, because before she can activate her skill for a second time, the first stack will run out. So it is a bit of a bummer, but I think that this like attack bonus that it gives is gonna give Qiqi so much attack, it's gonna be crazy. And that max refinement, you do gain 12 energy back. So again, this weapon will be useful. Qiqi won't be able to use it at its max potential, but I think it's gonna be more useful than the Flute and Lion's Roar, and you can craft it for free. Just have the billets and the materials. So yeah, best in slot when it arrives. For 4 stars. For 5 stars then. Well then, the 2 that you can use is, the best one is a Quill of Avonia. The reason being that a Quill of Avonia has the best base attack, 48, so it goes around 674 base attack on level 90. It does give a physical damage bonus, but it also gives a passive 20% attack through its effect. So because of that huge base attack that you have, all of your attack percent artifacts will give you so much attack. You're gonna reach some insane attack like numbers, and with the attack increase that it has on its effect, that's even more attack. The physical damage bonus is a bummer, but you will be dealing some nice damage when you hit enemies with while you're using your skill. There is also the Summit Shaper. The Summit Shaper has a good amount of base attack, and it gives an attack percent bonus. So it is nice, and its effect does also increase your attack if you hit opponents. So again, it is really good. Why is it not the best compared to Quill of Avonia? Because you can't really get Summit Shaper that easily. A Quill of Avonia is available through the standard banner rotation of weapons, so you can get a Quill of Avonia anytime, while Summit Shaper isn't that common. It is very, very good. Again, Summit Shaper is very, very good, and if you have a shielder in your party, mate, you're gonna give Qiqi so much attack. But because, again, it's not that wildly available, a Quill of Avonia does end up being a bit better. And a Quill of Avonia gives you even more survivability for your Qiqi, if, like, she didn't have enough. Then there's also the Skyward Blade, which is okay. Good base attack compared to something like the Flute, but it does give, like, energy recharge. And again, you don't need it as much. And its effect does not increase your attack. So, not really that good. I would go for something like the new Inazuma weapon, or the Flute, or Lion's Roar compared to the Skyward Blade. But yeah, that is it for weapons. So I wanted to mention that, like, energy problem. I go to Reddit, to the Genshin Impact Reddit and HoYoLab, like, daily, just to look at stuff because I have run out of resin and I don't have anything else to do, so why not browse Reddit? And I have seen so many stupid Qiqi buff ideas. Like, I've seen the dumbest thing, like, people being like, she's a zombie, so let her, like suck opponents' health or something. I'm like, the fuck? She's supposed to be a cute little zombie girl. She's not Fiddlesticks from League. She doesn't need to, like suck enemies' health through her attacks. And she's like, oh, it's like, the dumbest things. If you go on Reddit and you search for, like, Qiqi buff ideas, you'll, like, go crazy. Hear me out. As a person who has had Qiqi as his first 5-star, Qiqi does not need buffs. Does she need a constellation rework? Yes, but her constellations don't need to be something completely crazy. They don't. The one thing that needs to change in Qiqi's kit is energy particle generation. For some reason, her skill generates no particles. I'm not joking. She generates no particles. And to me, that really seems like not necessarily a bug, but a design flaw. Because everyone can generate particles. Why can't Qiqi do that? I would guess that the designers at MiHoYo thought that if they gave her some good energy generation, she would be completely busted because she would have her ult almost always up, you can say. Or, like, you will be able to just continuously heal either through the skill or the Ascension talent or the burst, because you would be generating energy. But the thing is that, now that we have tested Qiqi, now that she's out on the world and people have tried her and used her, we have managed to see that, well, no, the no particle generation is a problem. So if MiHoYo wants to fix Qiqi, then please just allow her E to generate some particles, and that is enough. That is literally enough to fix Qiqi. She doesn't need some sort of crazy effect. Nor does she need to do anything else. She's a healer in her core, and that's it. Another thing that I want to mention is how people evolve a mentality. Depending on if at early game you used someone like Barbara or Qiqi, or if you used Bennett, Diona, and other healers like that, you develop a mentality that your healer support needs to do something else. They either need to apply an element, they either need to give you shield, give you damage, some CC, like, people develop this thing if they're using someone like Bennett or like Diona. But others that used Qiqi and Barbara at early levels, well, they just think like, hey, is this a healer character? Do they heal a lot? That is perfectly fine. And I seriously think that people have developed this mentality. Those that have been blessed with Bennett at early levels don't they want their healer to do something else, while others like me, who have used Qiqi for a very long time, we're just fine with Qiqi being a god healer, because her healing just cannot be matched. And people, they also have developed hate because, yes, Qiqi is a 5-star, and she does ruin 50-50 PTs. And I understand, I also do not like Qiqi's constellations, and I wouldn't like to get a C1 Qiqi, but a C0 Qiqi is perfectly fine. She's just an amazing healer, and she doesn't need to do anything else. She doesn't need to do anything else. And if you tell me that, hey, her C1 has some energy particle generation, but have you seen what that C1 says? That C1 wants you to have a talisman applied on an enemy and then have the skill hit an enemy, and then you generate like 6 energy while her burst costs 80. That's not an excuse to say that Qiqi has energy generation. No, the skill on the base skill needs to have energy generation. If you want to change that, if you want to change her constellations, there are plenty of simple ideas. Very simple ideas that you can use. The C6 is incredibly good, I have to say, but, what are my ideas then? What would I suggest? Well, let's say for something like her 4th constellation, so that's middle of the road sort of, why not have that if a character is affected by the elemental skill and another enemy, and an enemy has the talisman affected on them, well, let's make it so that if that character is hitting that enemy affected by the talisman, let's make them heal the whole party, but not for much. That healing would scale off of Qiqi's attack, as it always does. Like, make it so that that healing element, when the skill is active and Qiqi does attacks, she heals the whole party. Where then make the 4th constellation transfer that effect to other party members if they're attacking a talisman affected enemy. And that's a perfectly fine 4th constellation. Why? Because it makes Qiqi a better healer. That's what these constellations should do. They shouldn't change a character's gameplay. They shouldn't take them from being a support to a DPS. That shouldn't be the case. What constellations should do is add just a nice bonus to the base character. So Qiqi's constellations, the only thing they need to do is just increase her healing output some way or another. And with simple means. 1st constellation, this whole energy generation is really bad. But let's say that, hey, if Qiqi has the skill active and she's hitting a talisman affected enemy, then make her generate some particles. Make her sort of periodically generate a bit of energy. Not much, but not like 6. She has an 80 energy cost, so make her generate 20. Make her generate 20 energy from hitting an enemy, and that's the max. That's perfectly fine because it helps her get her ult faster, and boom. She heals even more. These are the sort of simple ideas that combo with Qiqi's base kit and help her achieve her goal even more, to be a god at healing. She doesn't need to get any more. She doesn't need to get CC. She doesn't need to buff attack or anything. Just allow her to heal even more. So yeah, this has gone for quite a long. This video is very long. But again, the thing is that people have some really weird opinions on Qiqi, and that's usually because they just don't understand how the character needs to work. Again, as I said, it's that bias towards healers that have some sort of other utility or attack buff or anything. Instead of just understanding that there can be characters that just heal, and they just heal for a lot. There can be characters that do that, and that shouldn't be a problem. But people just don't understand that because they have been influenced by supports like Bennett. If you compare Bennett's healing to Qiqi, it's not even close. I'm sorry, but it's not even close. Nobody can get close to Qiqi's healing. And if you want to be a bit of a, let's say, memer, well then, why not slap a crit damage, crit rate weapon, crit damage, crit rate circlet, give her a cryo damage goblet, and have her go with Chongyun on a combo to just go crazy as a cryo DPS, huh? I mean, Qiqi's survivability through her healing will also, it will make your party unkillable, and of course, it makes her unkillable, so hey, Qiqi Cryo DPS if you wish to go that way. But, in conclusion, Qiqi is perfectly fine as she stands. She does need to get her particle generation fixed, and that is very much enough to just fix her. Fix her, not buff her or nerf her. Just fix her, because again, it feels like a bug or a flaw that every other character can generate particles, but Qiqi for some reason can't. You know, it just doesn't like go in the common sense that a person will have for a character. They're all gonna be like, why isn't this character generating particles when everyone else is? What's the deal? And the deal is that, well, maybe MiHoYo had a, wrong opinion on a character where, again, players managed to say that opinion was wrong. It was wrong to have Qiqi not generate particles through her skill, so please, just one simple thing to give her a bit of particle generation. And that is it. Qiqi is a god at healing, and our next 5-star is Xiao, my second 5-star. So I'll see you guys then.